She's not impressed by clout. She's not moved by trends. She's not chasing popularity or approval because she knows something most people have forgotten. Value isn't what the world gives you. It's what you already carry within. A high-value woman doesn't blend into the chaos. She doesn't shrink to fit in or play small to be liked. In a world that celebrates shortcuts, filters, and surface-level fame, she chooses depth. She chooses character. She chooses real substance. But here's the truth. We live in a low-value world. A world where loudness is mistaken for power, where attention is more valuable than intention, where too many people are building followers instead of building a life. This world will try to convince you that your worth is in how many likes you get, how fast you respond, how well you perform. But a high-value woman, she knows better. She doesn't compete. She doesn't compare. She knows her worth. And more importantly, she acts like it. Being high-value doesn't mean you're perfect. It means you have standards. It means you protect your energy. It means you don't beg, chase, or settle. You know who you are, and you move in alignment with that truth. Even if the world can't keep up, you don't trade your peace for attention. You don't water down your values to keep someone around. You don't pretend to be smaller just so others feel bigger. Because when you truly understand your value, you don't fear losing people. You fear losing yourself. In this low-value world, you will be misunderstood. You will be mocked for your boundaries. You'll be told you're too much, too cold, too high maintenance. Let them talk. Because the woman who refuses to settle becomes the woman they eventually admire, even if they don't admit it. This journey isn't easy. You'll outgrow people. You'll be tested. You'll question your own standards at times. But keep going. Because every time you choose discipline over drama, self-respect over temporary pleasure, and truth over convenience, you rise. You rise above the noise, above the need to be chosen, above the emptiness of a world that forgot how to value depth. This is not about looking high value. It's about being high value in your decisions, in your boundaries, in your silence, in your presence. You are not here to be consumed. You are here to be respected. You are not here to be liked by everyone. You are here to be loved by yourself first. You are not here to survive this world. You are here to transform it by refusing to lower your standards just because the world did. So let's begin. This is your roadmap to being a high-value woman in a low-value world, not by shouting louder, but by rising higher. Know your worth and never apologize for it. In a world where superficiality often screams louder than substance, a high-value woman is not someone who simply follows trends or conforms to societal expectations. She is the woman who knows her worth, owns it, and never seeks validation from anyone. She is not easily swayed by compliments, nor is she crushed by criticism. Her self-worth is rooted deep, so deep that the noise of the world can't shake her foundation. The first step in becoming that woman is a powerful and honest acknowledgement. You are not for everyone, and that's your strength, not your weakness. Most women are conditioned from an early age to please, to adapt, to fit in. But fitting in is not the same as belonging. Fitting in means molding yourself into what others find acceptable. Belonging means showing up as your true self and still being loved and respected. The high-value woman does not shrink herself to make others comfortable. She takes up space, mentally, emotionally, spiritually. She knows her standards are not too high. They are simply clear. She doesn't beg for respect. She expects it. She doesn't chase love. She attracts it. And most importantly, she does not settle, because settling is the language of fear, and a high-value woman is fluent in courage. But this self-worth doesn't come from outside validation. It's built in the quiet moments when no one is watching. It's forged in the hard choices, the lonely nights, the boundaries she enforces even when it hurts. Knowing your worth means knowing when to walk away from toxic friendships, from draining partners, from workplaces that don't value your brilliance. Being high value doesn't mean you're perfect. It means you're real. You can have insecurities and still carry confidence. You can cry and still be strong. Vulnerability is not weakness, it's authenticity. And authenticity is rare. In a world full of filters, being real is revolutionary. The low-value world will try to convince you that you're too emotional, too demanding, too opinionated, too much. Let it talk. The high-value woman listens to her intuition more than she listens to the crowd. She's not desperate to be liked. She's determined to be respected. When you know your worth, you don't argue with people who try to diminish it. You don't beg people to see your value. You walk away, knowing the right ones always will. You don't allow temporary emotions to compromise your permanent power. The world needs women who refuse to be silenced, who choose growth over comfort, who rise without asking for permission. Be that woman. Own your worth. Wear it like armor. And watch how your energy changes every room you walk into. Boundaries are not barriers, they are your superpower. One of the defining traits of a high-value woman is her ability to set firm, unapologetic boundaries. Not to push people away, but to protect her energy, her time, and her peace. In a world that rewards people-pleasing and punishes self-respect, boundaries are often misunderstood. But here's the truth. Boundaries are the ultimate act of self-love. Low-value environments constantly test your limits. They guilt you for saying no. They expect you to overextend, overgive, and overcompensate, especially if you're a woman. But a high-value woman has learned that saying no is not rude, it's sacred. She knows that every time she chooses her peace over pressure, her worth rises. She doesn't allow just anyone to access her time. Her circle may be smaller, but it's filled with people who understand her value. She doesn't chase, she attracts, because she knows that chasing is for those who are unsure of their worth. She knows that when you protect your energy, you create space for what actually serves you. This doesn't mean she's cold or distant. In fact, it's the opposite. Because she protects her space, she shows up fully present in the spaces that deserve her. Her love is deep, her presence is powerful, but she gives it by choice, not obligation. And this strength often intimidates the wrong people. They'll call her difficult, selfish, or too proud. But she knows that these are just labels used by those who benefited from her lack of boundaries in the past. She's no longer afraid of being misunderstood because she's not here to be convenient. She's here to be complete. A high-value woman lives by the truth that not everyone deserves access to her. Her boundaries are not walls, they are filters. They don't shut everyone out. They simply ensure that what gets in is aligned with her value. In a world that constantly treats people ease to drain, distract, and devalue, her boundaries are her protection. Her line in the sand is her crown, and she wears it with quiet, fearless confidence. Emotional control is your quiet power. In a world that's loud with chaos, criticism, and emotional triggers, the high-value woman stands out not just for what she says, but for what she doesn't react to. She has mastered the art of emotional control. She doesn't allow every insult, every disappointment, or every opinion to shake her. Not because she doesn't feel, but because she knows which battles are worth her energy. A low-value world will try to provoke you. It thrives on drama, on impulsive responses, on chaos disguised as connection. It encourages quick reactions and emotional explosions. But a high-value woman does something radical. She pauses. She responds, not reacts. She breathes, observes, and then chooses her next move with intention. Her emotions are deep, yes, but they are not unstable. Emotional control doesn't mean being emotionless. It means feeling everything, but not letting everything control you. The high-value woman has cried in silence, endured betrayal, and walked away from things she once begged for. And yet she carries herself with dignity. Not because life was easy, but because she learned that power isn't loud. Sometimes it's in the calm after the storm. She doesn't need to scream to be heard. She doesn't need to prove herself in every argument. She chooses her peace over proving a point. She lets fools talk and truth reveal itself with time. This restraint is not weakness, it's wisdom, because the world expects women to be reactive. But when you refuse to play that game, you shift the entire dynamic. You become unpredictable, not emotionally, but spiritually. People notice her stillness. Her silence speaks louder than rage ever could. They see the way she walks away from disrespect without drama, the way she preserves her grace in the face of rejection, the way she refuses to give away her power just to prove she has it. That's what makes her rare. That's what makes her powerful. In a low-value world, emotional chaos is the norm, but a high-value woman becomes the exception. She's the calm in the storm, the eye of the hurricane, the silence in the noise, and that emotional discipline, earned through struggle, heartbreak, and healing, becomes her quiet crown. She chooses standards over loneliness. The world will call her picky. They'll say she's too much, too hard to please, or she'll end up alone. But the high-value woman knows this truth. Being alone with standards is far more powerful than being surrounded by people who don't honor your worth. In a low-value world, people chase validation. They fear loneliness more than they fear losing themselves. That's why so many settle for relationships, friendships, environments that drain them. But the high-value woman refuses to shrink just to be accepted. She chooses quality over quantity, depth over attention, peace over noise. Her standards are not unrealistic. They are sacred. She knows what she brings to the table, and she refuses to lower the entire table just to keep someone sitting at it. She's not impressed by empty words, flashy gestures, or shallow interest. She's drawn to consistency, respect, and depth. That's rare in a world full of shortcuts and surface-level charm. Yes, sometimes it gets lonely, but she doesn't run back to what broke her. just to fill the silence. She doesn't keep people around out of fear. She trusts the solitude, because in that space, she reconnects with herself. She heals, she grows, she builds. She's not afraid of her own company because she spent time turning herself into someone she actually likes being with. The high-value woman doesn't beg to be chosen. She doesn't chase approval. She knows she's the prize. And that doesn't come from arrogance. It comes from knowing the difference between being wanted and being valued. Anyone can want you. But not everyone is ready to meet your standards, to match your energy, to rise to your level. And that's okay. She would rather wait than settle. She teaches the world how to treat her by what she tolerates. She's not quick to trust, not because she's bitter, but because she's wise. She's Lee. Aunt that not everyone deserves access to her energy, her time, or her body. She's not desperate to be liked. She's focused on being respected. That's what makes her magnetic. Not her appearance, but her presence. Not her availability, but her discernment. In a low-value world where desperation is disguised as love and attention is mistaken for affection, the high-value woman becomes a mirror. She reflects back truth to everyone she meets. You either rise to meet her or you watch her walk away. And she will walk away, quietly, powerfully, unapologetically. Because at the end of the day, she knows this. Her standards aren't obstacles. They're protection. They guard her heart, her peace, her future. And when she finally allows someone into her life, it won't be because she's tired of being alone. It'll be because that person earned their place beside a woman who refused to settle. That's what real power looks like. She doesn't chase. She attracts. A high-value woman knows her presence speaks louder than her pursuit. She doesn't chase validation, attention, or affection because she understands one simple truth. What is meant for her will not need to be chased. It will recognize her energy, respect her standards, and rise to meet her. In a low-value world, people are taught to run after what they want. Relationships, opportunities, even friendships, believing that persistence alone proves worth. But the high-value woman has unlearned this conditioning. She has no desire to exhaust herself convincing others to see her value. She'd rather invest her time becoming so aligned with herself that the right people naturally gravitate toward her. Her life is a reflection of her internal energy. She walks with quiet confidence, not because she thinks she's better than anyone, but because she's done the work to know who she is. Her silence intimidates people who are used to drama. Her boundaries frustrate those who've thrived off emotional access. But she's not here to please. She's here to grow. She doesn't need to be the loudest in the room to make an impact. Her presence alone shifts energy. She's magnetic because she's at peace. That's what makes her attractive, not just in romantic relationships, but in every aspect of life. People trust her. They feel safe around her. She has clarity. She has direction, and she radiates power without even trying. This doesn't mean she's emotionless or detached. She feels deeply. She loves fiercely, but she's selective. She won't open her heart to anyone who hasn't earned the right to be there. She's not cruel, but she's clear, and that clarity protects her peace. In contrast, the low-value world idolizes the chase. It glorifies desperation disguised as romance. It teaches women that being chosen is the prize. But the high-value woman rewrites that script. She doesn't want to be chosen. She wants to be respected, understood, and valued. And if she isn't, she'll walk away without flinching. Her standards don't make her cold. They make her powerful. So she focuses on herself, on her growth, on her peace, on her purpose. And in doing so, she naturally attracts what aligns with her highest self. Opportunities flow to her because she's not in survival mode. Relationships deepen because she's authentic, and respect finds her because she respects herself first. The high-value woman doesn't chase, and still, she never goes without. Because when you truly know your worth, the world adjusts. And what doesn't fit fades away on its own. She builds, not just for herself, but for generations. A high-value woman isn't just living for herself. She's building a legacy. Her choices, her boundaries, her courage, these ripple far beyond her own life. They impact her children, her community, her lineage. She doesn't chase temporary attention. She invests in permanent impact. She understands that every step she takes now lays a foundation. Whether she's walking away from toxic relationships, building a business, standing up for her truth, or choosing peace over chaos, she's building something that will outlive her. That's the kind of vision most people never even consider. But the high-value woman lives with that clarity every single day. In a low-value world that rewards speed, shortcuts, and shallowness, she is patient. She moves with purpose. She plants seeds where others are just consuming. She reads, she learns, she grows, not to impress others, but because growth is sacred to her. She's not afraid of time. She knows that real transformation takes it. She doesn't seek power by controlling others. She empowers others by being herself. Her very presence gives other women permission to rise too. She doesn't compete in silence. She uplifts. She doesn't hoard knowledge. She shares. She doesn't isolate. She creates safe spaces. This is what makes her power so different. It's not dominating. It's liberating. And the world feels it. You may not see her name in headlines. She may not be trending. But she's changing lives silently, consistently, with integrity. She's raising children with emotional intelligence. She's mentoring the next generation. She's breaking cycles her ancestors never had the tools to break. That's what high value really means. Something that increases in worth over time. While the world obsesses over image, she's focused on identity. While others are building facades, she's laying bricks. Quietul, aisultă daily, powerfully. And when people finally notice, when they finally ask, how did she do it? They'll never realize the strength it took. But that's okay. Because she didn't do it for applause. She did it for impact. That's the difference. That's the legacy. That's a high-value woman. Her silence isn't weakness. It's power contained. A high-value woman knows when to speak. And just as powerfully, she knows when to stay silent. She doesn't argue with fools. She doesn't explain her worth. She doesn't beg to be understood. Her silence is not submission. It's strategy. It's focus. It's discipline. In a world loud with opinions and noise, her stillness becomes deafening because she doesn't waste her energy where it's not respected. She doesn't fight for spaces that weren't built to hold her truth. If a room can't handle her authenticity, she simply walks out without slamming the door. Because she knows that silence sometimes says more than 1,000 well-crafted words. She's learned the art of holding back. Not because she's afraid to roar, but because she chooses her roar wisely. She protects her peace like it's gold. She doesn't throw her energy into every storm. She becomes the calm within the storm. That's her strength, measured, mastered, and intentional. This woman isn't reacting to everything. She's responding only when necessary. And when she does respond, people listen, because she doesn't talk for validation. She speaks to shift atmospheres. And when she chooses silence, it's because she's listening deeply, to herself, to God, to her vision. You see, people underestimate the quiet ones. They mistake grace for weakness. They think being calm means being passive. But they have no idea that her silence holds boundaries, history and fire. She may not argue with you, but she'll remove herself with elegance. She may not post her wins, but she's stacking them silently. She may not scream for attention, but trust she's being watched, respected, and remembered. Her silence is her shield. It's how she heals. It's how she resets. She doesn't need to explain every decision she makes. Her life explains it. Her glow explains it. Her results explain it. She knows that not everyone deserves access to her thoughts, her dreams, her vulnerability. She's not cold. She's careful. She's not detached. She's discerning. And that discernment is what keeps her safe, powerful, and rising. So if you see her quiet, don't mistake it for invisibility. That silence might just be the sound of her becoming unstoppable. She doesn't need to be loud. Her presence speaks for her. A high-value woman doesn't need to shout to be heard. She doesn't need to dominate a room with noise. Her power isn't in how loud she speaks. It's in how deeply she's felt. When she walks into a room, people feel her presence before she even says a word. That's not charisma. That's alignment. That's purpose. That's a life built on truth. She knows that power doesn't have to be aggressive. Real power is still. Real power listens before it speaks. Real power walks in grace but stands unshaken. She's the kind of woman who doesn't demand attention. She commands it simply by being who she is. Her strength is calm. It's quiet. It's composed. She doesn't need to prove she's important. She knows she is. She doesn't need to fight for the spotlight because the spotlight finds her. Her discipline, her character, her work ethic, they shine brighter than any performance. When she speaks, her words carry weight, not because of volume, but because of value. She's not trying to impress anyone. She's not trying to fit in. She's building something bigger than trends. Her life is a legacy in motion. You'll never see her begging for approval. She's already approved herself. She's already done the inner work. She knows what she brings to the table, and if someone doesn't see it, she'll eat alone and still win. She walks with a softness that's rooted in strength. She loves with depth, but she never loses herself in the process. She gives, but not out of emptiness, only from overflow. And that's what separates her. She's not trying to be everything to everyone. She's focused. She's intentional. She knows where she's going. And most importantly, she doesn't chase. Not people, not trends, not validation. She attracts through energy, through excellence, through integrity. That's the kind of woman who doesn't just turn heads, she transforms them. RMS minds. So remember this, you don't have to be loud to be powerful. You don't have to explain yourself to be understood. You don't have to compete when you're walking in purpose. Real queens don't scream, they shine. Silently, consistently, powerfully. She is proof that strength can be soft and grace can be unshakable. Her power was never in how many people clapped for her. Her power was in how many times she stood back up when no one was watching. And now that she's rising, you better believe the world will feel it. Because some women don't raise their voice. They raise the standard. And that changes everything. There's something quietly powerful about a woman who knows who she is. She doesn't need to announce it. She doesn't need the spotlight or applause. She doesn't have to prove her worth to anyone because she walks in it daily, deliberately, and unapologetically. In a low-value world that thrives on noise, comparison, and competition, the high-value woman becomes a silent revolution. She disrupts norms simply by refusing to play small. She challenges expectations not with rebellion, but with grace. She rises, not because the world gives her permission, but because she no longer seeks it. Being a high-value woman isn't about being perfect. It's about being honest, with yourself first. It's choosing self-respect over validation, purpose over popularity, and peace over pleasing. It's learning when to speak and when to walk away. It's knowing that your time, your body, your energy, and your heart are sacred, and not everyone gets access. And even when the world doesn't applaud you, you still win. Because the woman who builds herself from truth, from wisdom, from values, she's unshakable. She doesn't chase love, she attracts alignment. She doesn't follow trends, she follows vision. And most importantly, she doesn't fear being alone, because she's found home within herself. So if the world ever tries to tell you that you're asking for too much, remind yourself, you were never asking too much. You were just asking the wrong people. Stay grounded, stay powerful, stay high value. You're not just surviving this low value world, you're redefining it.